I think there's always the early mover advantage, right? I don't know how many brands have invested big into Amazon Live, but it seems like this is something that Amazon is going to reward, would be my guess, given how much they've invested in this recently. All right, Matt, I'm super excited to go over a brand new program. This is new as of last week at the time of this recording, the Amazon Creator Connector program. So this is definitely a program that's very much in beta. And we'll go over in a little bit. I have a link prepared that I'll also include in the show notes that shows folks if they want to apply to be in the program, if they haven't been included in the beta, which will be really helpful. But in a nutshell, Matt, this is a program that's going to be offered by Amazon that allows brands to collaborate with influencers to promote their products on their live streams on Amazon.com. We'll get into, you and I talk a little bit more in the near future about the implications of it being specifically on Amazon.com. But in a nutshell, Matt, that's what's happening. It seems like Amazon is now investing in building that two-sided marketplace between their third-party sellers and what they have deemed as top influencers and creators that currently operate on their platform. So I'm going to just, we'll blitz through some stuff just to show people, here's, how you can see if you're going to be a part of this beta, if you've been included in it already. And if you haven't, here's a link to apply to Amazon to be considered to be a part of this beta. So we'll get through that here shortly. I'm going to share my screen.
No, that's awesome. I think, anytime Amazon gives you another potential tool to use, you should for sure investigate it. And if it's a fit, if it's a good match with what you're doing or could be doing, you really ought to take a look at it, because that's the whole game here, is to drive as much engagement, and then engagement turns into conversion as you can. So if they're giving you another tool or tool set to use, by all means, let's learn about it. Let's find out if it's a fit. Let's find out how we can make best use of it, and even hopefully get a little bit of early mover advantage right before everyone else figures out that this is something they can use.
Yeah, and it seems like, Matt, that Amazon has just been the amount of feature releases in this theme of what you're talking about, of kind of programs offered by Amazon to allow for some of that additional customer engagement. It seems like there's been, maybe this stuff has been in the pipeline for a long time. I imagine it might have been, but it seems like it's all being released pretty quickly, which is awesome to see. If you want to see if you're currently a part of this beta, it's as simple as going over to the advertising tab in your Seller Central account. And if Amazon has selected you to be in the beta, it'll be under Creator Connections. So you can select that there, and then start the prompt of like what we just talked about, right? Seeing that two-sided marketplace of their top influencers, what might make sense for your brand, along with the fees that those influencers charge. If you're not a part of this beta, which chances are you're not, because this is a very closed beta that, as I said before, is new as of last week, at the time of this recording. Here's a link we'll include in the show notes that Amazon put out basically to apply to be in the beta. So it's a really simple survey application form they have. You can click through the various sections. If folks are struggling to find their brand entity ID, that's a very specific code within Amazon. I'll include a link in the show notes to a resource we have to help folks do just that. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. Like I said, chances are, because this program is so new, you may not have your brand included in the beta. If you are, you'll be able to see that pretty easily. But if not, don't worry. Just we'll include a link in the show notes, and folks can have access to this, and so they can apply and make the case to Amazon that they should be a part of this beta. I was curious. I was doing some research before our call, Matt. Have you ever purchased anything via Amazon Live?
I have not ever. But I'm also, I've never purchased anything from Home Shopping Network or, any similar kind of format as that. So I'm probably not, the right demographic anyway.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, I myself have never fallen victim to the late night shopping channel promotion. But this is a program Amazon is clearly pushing. Like I said, I've never purchased it. It doesn't sound like you have either, anything via Amazon Live, but this has been around for a while, right? Amazon has, built out a program. It's pretty easy actually to get set up. They have a mobile app, I believe, and some technology that's pretty easy to configure. And then you're off to the races promoting products. And obviously, it's pretty straightforward to do just that. They have a massive database of products you can promote accordingly. I did find it interesting in doing some research, Matt. I went and I checked out via some traffic estimators what specifically the Amazon.com live domain gets. So not traffic of Amazon.com overall, which is obviously massive, but Amazon Live specifically. And keep in mind, these are just estimates, but I did have some interesting takeaways I want to share with you, or at least what these third-party sites are showing. When I put in to like Ahrefs, for example, the domain specifically of Amazon.com/live, they're estimating traffic to be 5.1 thousand. So not. I mean, when you look at, I think Amazon.com gets somewhere in the ballpark of many hundreds and hundreds of millions of site visits every month. 5.1 is pretty limited. And then I also looked at, just to compare a few other resources, and there was some fluctuation. I looked at another tool which estimates the live specific domain at just over 11,000 unique monthly visitors. So I just thought this was interesting, Matt. I'm curious what your thoughts are on, Amazon's clearly making a push here to build that two-sided marketplace between sellers and potential influencers. But by the numbers here, if we're just looking at Amazon Live, and there might be other programs like you and I were talking about before the call that Amazon has in mind, but if we just look at the live numbers, it doesn't seem like it's an incredibly big mover at this point in time.
Right. I mean, and I guess I'm not surprised, right? The overwhelming volume of things that you can spend your time watching on the internet is almost unfathomable, right? So the idea that you end up on Amazon's shopping channel, and even if you happen to glance there, that the product being shown at that moment was something of any interest to you, it just seems vanishingly small, right? The people watch TikTok, they watch YouTube shorts, they watch Instagram stuff, and they've selected that because they have an interest in it, right? And the algorithm pretty quickly figures out, oh, you like funny cat videos, we're going to just flood you with funny cat videos. So every time you open that up, it's something that the algorithm presumably knows that you've got some interest in. Whereas Amazon Live, it probably isn't set or even able to show you something you have a direct interest in, even if you happen to land on the page. So I guess I'm not shocked to hear that this isn't a runaway success for them, but Amazon's smart and Amazon has a lot of resources. So it wouldn't also surprise me to find out that they've got bigger, better plans for this, and they will, as time goes on, grab a much bigger share of the traffic with this. But as of today, I think it's a knockoff of a home shopping network kind of a feed, right. And there's just not a lot of people that are going to sit around and watch that till something interesting comes on.
Right. To give a little bit of credit for Amazon on the infrastructure of there being in place a mechanism for people to earn commissions on sales. Amazon, they were very early with the Amazon Associates program and building out referral links. So that infrastructure for folks to pretty easily earn commission from Amazon on sales is definitely there without a doubt. But I mean, how much of this do you think is Amazon responding to TikTok Shop as a threat, right? Where TikTok, it's kind of the inverse. TikTok has built out the influencers, and now they're looking to complete the puzzle by looking for and onboarding third-party vendors and sellers onto their platform. Amazon has the third-party vendors and sellers, but now are they trying to basically compete on a TikTok Shop level by now onboarding and bolstering their program for influencers?
I think that's a very reasonable assumption of the motivations there. You tend to think of Amazon as, this giant, unassailable, fixed being in space, right? They are Amazon. Why would they even think about competition? Why would they even care? But the reality is, things change over time. Audience preferences evolve, and TikTok was nothing 5 years ago, but now it's its own huge entity that sucks in billions of viewing hours. So Amazon, and it recognizes this and says, okay, if we do nothing, we stand to lose potentially market share, right? If we let them we stand by, they built an audience, and now they built a way for that audience to shop without coming to our platform. We need to come up with a response. So this could be, testing the waters of a way that they could potentially respond to the threat that, this platform and other platforms represent. Because you can think, I don't know how old some of the listeners may be, but I mean, a million years ago, back when, the internet was born, everybody thought eBay was going to own the world, right? Like, they didn't own any inventory, they didn't own any logistics. It was a pure play, come to our website and we make margin on sales. And everyone thought, well, that model is going to shut down the rest of the world. Like, nobody can compete with that. And then Amazon came along, and now eBay, if you hear about it at all, it's sort of an afterthought. Like, well, I couldn't get rid of my stuff on Amazon, so I sold it in bulk on eBay. But nobody's talking about eBay taking over the world anymore. So even though it seems like Amazon is now huge and established, and TikTok and some of these other options are the newcomers, Amazon's smart enough to know that they used to be the newcomers, and we can't, make any assumptions. We can't rest on our laurels. We got to, test the waters and see how we might be able to make sure that we're still competitive.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. I think this may have been something that's been on the back burner for a little bit in terms of needing it. They have so much traffic. They have so much leverage in terms of product selection. But perhaps, like exactly what you said, they know what it's like to be the underdog and displace much larger behemoths, and they don't want to take a chance here by letting anyone have an edge on them in terms of the influencer space. And they've made historically big acquisitions, right? They acquired Twitch, and they own a lot of media properties on the web. So I think they're well poised. As everyone knows, when Amazon puts their mind to something, they typically execute pretty well. So I think they have the pieces of the puzzle. And if this hasn't been as big of a priority in the past, I am interpreting a lot of what I'm seeing is that it may be more urgent for them to kind of make some bigger moves. I think something from my perspective, Matt, I'm sure you agree. I think there's always the early mover advantage, right? I don't know how many brands have invested big into Amazon Live, but it seems like this is something that Amazon is going to reward, would be my guess, given how much they've invested in this recently. So if you're not a part of that beta, if your brand hasn't been selected, I would still highly encourage folks to go to the form that we're going to include in the show notes and apply for their brand to be included in the program.
Yeah, I think, you may ultimately decide it's still not a fit or not the best use of limited ad resources, but at least have the option, right? At least be able to be included and then get the information and decide. And if it is a good fit, you definitely benefit, I think, from being one of a few hundred or a few thousand versus one of millions who, have now gotten involved in the program and are trying to get your piece of the pie there. So early mover advantage is definitely a real thing.